Good afternoon. Well, it's not quite afternoon. It's around 11 o'clock on Friday. A beautiful day. Already been to the dentist and gotten taken care of, and here I am. So I thought I'd take a few minutes because I know it's getting towards the end of the week, and I haven't had a chance to do this yet. But I gave you another fireside chat, and I told you last week I was thinking about time a lot. Probably the next several of these will be on time, and I'm trying to find time to actually make them happen more often. That's part of my wrestling and thinking and conversing in time, realizing that there's a lot of challenge in all of that. You know, time is is something where when you think about it, a lot of people ask us, what time is it? What time they want us to show up? Time becomes kind of a point and a moment and things. But you think about the bigger question: what is time? What time is it? But what is time? And the fact that time itself is something that, on one hand, wasn't there before the creation, that is there now in and amongst the creation, won't be there in a sense after the creation. It really is a part of this thing that we exist in and are a part of, and yet time was made in the creation itself. When God was there before, I love asking the question, before confirmation students, before the beginning of things, what was there? And the answer is God. It can be kind of mind-blowing. But God is timeless. God is endless. He was there before time began, and time began, in a sense, in the creation, where in a way to mark pieces and things, he put sun and moon and stars and seasons into place in creation, all so that time would be marked, and there would be this time and seasons, and that seasons are of value as well to us. And when we really think about that, those things wouldn't be a problem for us in any way, shape, or form if creation hadn't ended up being spoiled and basically destroyed through the act of sin, and therefore the continuous act of sin that we deal with. When great thinkers, not myself for sure, but when great thinkers like Augustine of Hippo and others thought of time and think about time and do some deep God thinking about time, they acknowledge the fact that I can't explain time in reality as a human being, but God can. He certainly can. Matter of fact, Augustine wrote these words: you did not precede time by any time, because then you would not precede all times. But in the excellency of an ever-present eternity where God is, an ever-present eternity where God is, you precede all times past and survive all times future, because they are future, and when they have come, then they will be past. But you are the same, and your years shall have no end. Since what the writer of Hebrews said, Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, an unchanging thing in the midst of it. But because of sin, the challenge for all of us is, and that's what makes, I think, this time even more difficult for people, is sin, and then COVID and all the other things going on. Time, when it was created, was definitely a blessing. It was created as a part of it to make it move and go and continue to grow in a positive way. Matter of fact, God blessed it in a sense He said it was good. Never said time was bad, ever. So why do we think time is bad or not a blessing? Time changed in a sense when our view of time and life and the world and everything changed in sin, and it still keeps changing on us today. We live. We do, we die. And really, the fact is, the truth is, we all have an expiration date the minute we're conceived. We just don't know what that expiration date is. You worry about your milk, you worry about your food and your cabinets, but do we worry about our expiration date in this world? Or do we live accordingly to it, and also inadvertently, negatively accordingly to it? The fact is that, again, that God again made time good, and He blessed it. So why do we spend so much time in anxiety and frustration and just being worn out over time? Well, part of it is because in the middle of sin, the fact is, in truth, that we misuse time. We treat it lazily, or we try to hoard time, or we spend time doing things we shouldn't and we know we shouldn't be doing because they're of no value to us. The constant sense of trying to teach confirmation kids and youth about having an eternal perspective. What is what I'm doing right now at this moment? How is this affecting or being a part of my eternal timeline? And if it's not being a part of that, why waste my time doing it? But even more so, the thing that we all know very truly, time cuts our life short. Because of time, all of our lives are going to come to an end in sin. So the fact is, when we start trying to adjust in this time, so many people today are trying to do so many things and spend so much time trying to get through all these things. The fact is, they make their time even worse and harder, and we can only make joys last for so long. We can only make things happen. We can only do so many things and experience so many things, because otherwise it all starts running through and we get worn out. And it's the idea that comedians have talked about in the past. I'm so glad to have Monday morning, because on the weekend I'm so pooped from doing all the stuff I did to try to relax and have fun. Not anything that God's created. Time was created for us to be able to mark and to grow seasons and to time and to tend and to nurture and to grow. And time is a part of us, and we were meant to be timeless. We were meant to be with God the whole time of the creation. But now in this broken world, we find ourselves running out of time every day, or ignoring time every day, or wasting time every day. Why is it that we have to wait till the very end of life and say things like, again, talking to Cliff Burley, it was just profound for him, having him say things that I already knew and that I've heard up before, but just again, I just thought about it a lot lately. It's all been worth nothing. And I hear the writer of Ecclesiastes, vanity, vanity, it's all vanity. There's nothing new under the sun. You see, because we live and dig and scratch and try to rack up all these things, whether it be possessions, whether it be experiences, whether it be joys, whatever it may be, and all of it means nothing, because when you're faced with the end of your life, you suddenly realize, oh my gosh, what was the point of it all? And even worse, in today's culture and world, there are people who, as they continually more and more push away Christianity and push away God's truth, that they just don't think there's a purpose at all to life, and it's just to live as long as you can and die, and that's good. That you've done what you've done. But how meaningless would that be with a creation as powerful as this? And I don't mean me, I mean you. God wouldn't create something meaningless, and how meaningless in time would it be to make something as valuable and as precious as you, only to have you be here to see how many times you can get to Disney World before you die, and how many motorhomes you can own, and how big of a house you can maintain. What would be the point? Because when you die, none of it goes with you. It gets passed on to the next person. Ecclesiastes again. But the good news is, and this is what's really important, and I think this is one of the things we need to think about again in the midst of our time as we're struggling through COVID and people keep marking, somehow the year 2020, we assume that somehow the year 2020 itself is going to be, it's no different today than every day. The fact is, it's just a whole lot more of it all of a sudden at one point. And that should make us take account too. But the good news is, even in the midst of this 2020 year where everything is kind of crazy and has been way out of whack, the fact is God's in this time. Jesus, and this is a key, powerful moment of the incarnation. Jesus came and entered into our time. He left his timelessness and he entered into our time. And he didn't just enter in our time just to hang out with us. He entered in our time to live and to teach and then to die. And his life was cut short at only 33 years. He died differently than everybody else, though, because without any reason, he had no reason to die, but he did it of his own accord, as he says in the Gospel of John. He did it sacrificially to make your life, my life, now and forever, something different, so that we could spend never-ending time dwelling with God, as we were long intended to from the beginning. The fact is that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, what it did was it brought death. It brought a finitude, a finite nature to time for humans. It made it where we had no choice but to know always that there was an ending coming. And so often right now our culture is denying death and trying to ignore death and to push it off somehow, that all it does is really make it worse when it gets here. But the truth is instead that the tree of life was the one that we've been given a chance to eat off of, and still are given a chance to eat off of, though in a limited form right now. We don't, as a Christian, we don't want to get out of time. We don't try to escape it and to do all kinds of crazy things to fill my time up and to make it worthwhile, because as a Christian, if I understand Christ correctly, I already am looking and already part of a time fullness, so that someday I can be a part of Jesus in the fullness of time, where there will be abundant and eternal times to live fully forever. And perhaps what I'm missing in all my running and my craziness and my stressors and all the things I'm allotting in my life today is that I'm missing out on the opportunity that Jesus is coming into this world and offering it to me today is being missed in my life. I'm missing the fact that he's offering me today to experience a foretaste of the feast to come. Not to run harder, not to go faster, not to accumulate more, not to keep trying to do one more thing, but to do what the psalmist says in Psalm 46, verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among all the earth. I hope as you spend your time today and every day, as you keep moving through this time that we are in, realizing that it's just a time, but more so realizing that it's a time with Christ in us. Maybe what we need to do is stop long enough and look hard enough to start reevaluating what it is we're supposed to be doing with the time that we've been given. And if we come up to the answer that we're not using it well and haven't used it well and aren't using it well, we need to then make changes to our life. And it's not just big things, it's little things. How much time do I spend worrying? How much time do I spend hiding from people and things because of COVID? How much time am I wasting because now things are changed so that I don't have to physically come to worship? So I figure I can just watch the programming later. And all of it misses the point of what all the time that God gives us, especially as the church together, is about. You see, if we understood the church and what it really is, and it's not a place or a location or a thing we go to, that we as the body of Christ are the church. The church was made by Christ so that we could walk through time together in all the joys and all the struggles and all the ups and all the downs, and hold and bind and strengthen and encourage and forgive and restore and renew all the things that are broken in our relationships, just like Christ does when he comes into the midst of it with us. So I hope to see you soon in worship. I hope to be seen, I guess, by those of you who aren't able, don't feel you can still come. I hope to know and hear even from you that you are spending time with God, serious time, not just a moment, just a minute, but time. And you're looking for the blessings in the midst of this time, knowing that there's a much greater blessing coming. I think it's when we understand that the life to come is something we can't see and understand completely yet. That's the thing that makes it so hard for right now, because I can touch this. I can touch this world. I understand this world, I think. But that's where hope and faith and a growing faith and study and worship and service and giving all changes our perspective. So I no longer see as me an expiring bag of bread, but as God, the creator of time itself, who longs for me to be with him forever, without time, ever again. God bless you. Take care of yourselves. I look forward to seeing you soon. God's peace.